I write a lot of speculation threads about JoJolion on Twitter, but they're typically about a topic that I only have a few points to discuss. This means they usually don't end up making the transition over to a video format. But there's some good stuff here that people have been asking me to talk about more. So here's a compilation of some of the better write-ups I've done, with a few revisions based on my expanded thoughts. The female Higashikatas, including Tsurugi, who was introduced as a young girl, are all named after card suits. Daya is named after the diamond suit. Hado is named after the heart suit. Tsurugi's name means sword, which is a common alternative to the spade suit. Mitsuba's name means leaf, and her stand has the phrase 3 leaves in it, in reference to the clover suit. And finally, Kado's name is just straight up the word card. Knowing this, we can assume that the male Higashikatas, whose name begin with Jo, also have some connection to playing cards. Most likely, they loosely reflect the kings depicted on the cards themselves. This is supported by Jobin holding a briefcase with the King of Spades on it, on the cover of chapter 74. If we're assigning each of the other male Higashikatas to a card, then the best attributes to base it off would be the appearance of the card, as well as any associated tarot meaning. For example, Jobin being the King of Spades makes sense, as not only does the King of Spades wield the sword in most depictions, which reflects his relationship with Tsurugi, but the equivalent tarot, when interpreted from a reverse position, refers to a person who lacks structure to their lives and does whatever they please, misuses their power, and intimidates others to force them to fall in line. Sounds like Jobin to me. Joshu is most likely the King of Diamonds. The King of Diamonds is the only card which doesn't depict a sword, rather he wields a battle axe. Joshu has the least to do with Tsurugi, so that lines up. This reverse tarot represents stubbornness, financial ineptitude, and an obsession with wealth, which has Joshu written all over it. In fact, we even had an entire arc which put his greed at the forefront. Norisuke is most likely the King of Clubs. The King of Clubs wields a sword, which reflects his own relationship with Tsurugi. In tarot, the upright equivalent card reflects a friendly, confident, and honorable leader, with a bit of an entrepreneurial streak. And that's pretty much exactly how I'd describe Norisuke. Through the process of elimination, we are left with Gappy as the King of Hearts. The King of Hearts is the only king depicted with 4 hands, and our boy Gappy is no stranger to keeping an extra pair on his person. The King of Hearts is also the only king without a moustache, making it the odd one out. This reflects Gappy being not only an outsider to the Higashikata family, but also potentially lacking maturity in the stand development area. The upright tarot refers to an affectionate man and a diplomat, while the reverse tarot refers to someone who is overly emotional, immature, ruthless, and unbalanced. The most interesting part about all this, however, is the card's nickname. The King of Hearts is often referred to as the Suicide King, because he is impaling his own head with a sword in most depictions. So this is even more evidence to support the idea that Gappy is going to end up sacrificing himself for Tsurugi. Speaking of, I haven't backed down on much when it comes to my JoJolion coronation theory. I still think Gappy is an Elvis homage and that he and Yasuho will save Tsurugi together. But there are still a couple of things that I have reconsidered since I made that video. The most important of which is that I definitely think I was off the mark with Yasuho's evolved stand name. I do think Holly's affinity towards Yasuho derived from the song Mama Like the Roses, but I think Yasuho's stand getting it named after that song is a bit tangential. My new theory is instead that it will be called Graceland, after Paul Simon's solo album of the same name. Paisley Park Studios was the place where Prince lived, so the evolutional through line would be to name Yasuho's evolved stand after the place Elvis lived. Not only that, but the album itself fits Yasuho well. For instance, the first track on the album is called The Boy in the Bubble, which has quite a bit of significance to her relationship with another character. Not Gappy, like you'd expect from the name, but rather Tsurugi. The Boy in the Bubble refers to David Vedder, whose severe combined immunodeficiency forced him to live in a plastic bubble for the entirety of his life, while the people around him attempted to search for a cure to his disease, which they sadly weren't able to, and so he died by the age of 12. The significance of this with regards to Tsurugi is obvious, just replace the bubble with an underground cellar and his upbringing as a girl. Going beyond that, it's also a song about how technology affects our lives, which connects back to Yasuo's ability. One of the icons most associated with Gappy is the anchor, but said anchor actually originated with the original Josuke, as he wore it on the collar of his uniform. The original Josuke's design was clearly based on Prince in a multitude of ways, and I get the feeling that this anchor is no different. You see, Prince had this period in his life which redefined his whole career, and that was the time he changed his name into an unpronounceable symbol, and started being referred to as the artist formerly known as Prince. The love symbol, as it's often referred to as, appeared in a primitive form as early as 1984, on the cover of Prince's Purple Rain album, This version of the symbol was copied verbatim onto Jotaro's hat from chapter 89 onwards in Diamond is Unbreakable, and was most likely reinterpreted by Araki for the shape of Josuke's anchor symbol. This is made pretty clear by this illustration, which depicts the symbol as a necklace with a shape more true to its origin. For the original Josuke, the anchor didn't mean much, it was likely just an aesthetic choice. But between Diamond is Unbreakable and JoJolion, the love symbol's meaning had completely changed into a symbol of Prince losing his identity. It should be no surprise that Gappy is all about that anchor, even discounting him being a sailor. The symbol is even imprinted on Soft and Wet. In fact, I'd posit that Gappy as a character originated from Araki being inspired by the love symbol era. Prince decided to change his birth name due to arguments with Warner Brothers over a contract he signed with them. The terms limited his artistic freedoms and basically made it so they owned his birth name. Prince felt like he had lost his identity and felt like the old him was dead. Him changing his name was an act of defiance. He was trying to establish a new identity for himself. The symbol itself is a fusion of the male and female sex symbols, as well as a cross and the number 7. It reflects Gappy's fused and holy condition well. In addition, Soft and Wet, as a song, is pretty reflective of the original Prince in his purest form. Not only did he do all the vocals and instrumentation, but it was also his very first single. Now, before he changed his name to the love symbol, Prince actually released an album whose title was also the love symbol, and had a lot of songs whose lyrics could have potentially inspired Gappy and the rest of JoJolion. My Name is Prince, as Prince claimed that he was personally created by God himself after creating the sea, not dissimilar to Gappy's strangely holy birth. It also refers to Prince having two sides who are both friends, which sounds similar to Kira and Josefumi. I've also touched on it before, but the song includes the line, "You must become a prince before you're king anyway." The rest of the album has a few lines that have vague connections to other lines and events in JoJolion, most of which I doubt were intentional, but who knows. There's one line about having 100 million little heart attacks, and another line about preferring to see your lover cry instead of smile. There's an entire song about going with the flow, which has been brought up surprisingly often in JoJolion. And God Created Woman is a song that recounts the birth of Eve from Adam's bone, and the description lines up pretty close to Gappy's own birth. 3 Chains of Gold is one of the most interesting ones though. Many have speculated that the rocks that Gappy has on his face are meant to be a callback to Jotaro's gold chain. With the exchange being complete, Gappy has been left with exactly 3 of the chain link looking rocks on his face, his 3 chains of gold. The song itself says that if it's between the singer and the person he loves is likely to go before him. The final song on the album is The Sacrifice of Victor, which I could very easily see as being the inspiration for the general concept of equivalent exchange as it is used in the story, especially with regards to the Higashikata tradition of self-sacrifice. And that's where we're going to wrap things up for today. There's still a lot of small things I'd like to unpack with JoJolion, meaning this won't be the last of this type of video, so look forward to more in the future. If you aren't familiar with any of my other videos, go check them out. I do a lot of JoJolion theory crafting. In any case, I'll see you all next time.